So welcome to our March Mama's Lunch Bunch. We're going to be talking about grassroots lobbying, and I think this is often one of my favorite trainings because I think lobbying feels really intimidating, but particularly at the state level, which we'll mostly be talking about today, it's really not so scary once you kind of get into it. Um, oh, we got one more coming in. All right, great. Um, okay, so what we're going to talk about today, we'll start with kind of defining what is grassroots lobbying. This is a picture of our state capitol. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Um, but it's different than hiring a lobbyist. And so it's, basically at its core, right, convincing somebody to vote in favor or opposition of a bill or an issue. That's I think probably pretty obvious. It's the power of ideas. I think one thing that is important about grassroots lobbying is that because it's just regular folks who are talking with their decision makers, we can really our sort of power is sharing our experience, our lived experience, our fears, our concerns, our opinions on an issue that they're not going to be hearing from a paid lobbyist per se. But it's really this, lobbying is really the power of ideas. How do you make your argument to convince somebody? How do you make your position like felt, and also something that will stick with them through the opposition arguments, that will kind of keep your position front of mind. Personal stories matter. It's just something that we always encourage our folks who are coming to our lobby day or who are calling their legislator or sending an email to make sure you think about, like, what is the personal story that you want to tell or that you're comfortable sharing, that you think will help illustrate why this issue is so important to you and why they should vote in your position. Lobbying can mean many different things. It's not just having a sit down meeting with a member, an elected official. It can be sending an email and voicing your position. It can be calling them. Calls are much more impactful than emails. Emails are easier to do, but calls take more effort. They take a little more courage, for some of us. And even if you're just leaving a voicemail, which you can do after hours or on the weekends, if you are a little nervous about talking to somebody live, it actually does matter a great deal more to a legislator for you to pick up the phone than to send an email. And if you are sending emails, personalizing that and not sending, kind of a pre-scripted email goes a lot further, of course. They're going to be tracking the number of emails they get on a subject and like sort of analyzing the number in favor or opposition as they weigh their vote. But sometimes that's kind of all it is, if they're getting an email that looks the same as 100 other people that sent it in. I also got some feedback from a state representative at an event we held, and she said, "Well, when I get these sort of form emails, I send a form email back." And I think what she was trying to insinuate is, like, if she's hearing real stories from people that they took the time to say something different, she will reply with a more cohesive and honest, not honest, a more cohesive like response, that she's not going to send to the rest of the folks. So I think that means, that it matters to her when she's hearing something different. Social media is also a great tool for engaging with elected officials. tagging them in your post or commenting on their page. They may not be tracking their social media content, but somebody is, and they want to see what people are saying. It gives them a little, part of a picture about how people are feeling. Another way to lobby is through testimony. One of the things that is positive about the pandemic is that a lot of these opportunities are available remotely nowadays. So you can testify over Zoom at the state legislature on committee hearings. You can also testify remotely at the Public Utilities Commission, which regulates our utilities, and is really a form of lobbying as well, or other regulatory agencies like the Air Quality Control Commission when they're dealing with issues. They always provide opportunities for public comment. And these are ways for you to offer your story and your position in just a couple of minutes. Sometimes you'll get questions back from the committee. That's only in the legislature. That doesn't happen at the PUC or our regulatory agencies. But it's a great way to get that in. And written testimony is also a possibility, as well as verbal testimony live during a committee hearing. And then, of course, in-person meetings, which is more of what we're going to focus on today. So just to kind of go over, like, what role does Mountain Mamas play during the legislative session? Oh, I don't know why I don't have any slides on that. I thought I did. I'll just talk about it. So we have a legislative team that we put together last year, and this is a smaller group of folks who are interested in learning more about what the legislature does. They want to be more kind of involved in the bills that we take a position on, and we meet every other week. And talk about the bills. We kind of figure out early on what are the bills we're going to support this session. Usually we take a look at the big issues that are like we don't write the bills ourselves. We support bills that other organizations write or draft with a legislator. And we'll kind of look through them and say which issues will impact families the most. What issues will help make clean energy more affordable for families or accessible for families? What's going to have the biggest impact on the state in terms of reducing our emissions? And then we pick 3 to 4 bills that we're going to work on from January to May during the legislative session. And then they are helping put our lobby day together. They're helping do outreach to our members to ask them to reach out to their legislators. And then they get kind of a play-by-play as things play out during the session and can do some rapid response. That's kind of a newer thing for us, but it's been really effective. And so if you're ever interested in that, let me know. It's a fun team. And then we do, the traditional emails, asking folks to reach out to their legislators on issues. We ask folks to do phone calls. And we also hold a lobby day, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But on April 15th, we'll hold our lobby day, and it's a lot of fun. We go down first thing in the morning. We get there around 8 o'clock, have some breakfast, do a training, and then we go upstairs and pull out our state legislators and talk to them about those 3 to 4 issues that we've been prioritizing. That is probably the most fun event that we hold all year, and you don't have to have any experience. You don't even have to talk when you come. If you're nervous and you just want to kind of observe, that's totally acceptable, because it can be an intimidating thing to go down for the first time, but it's a lot of fun. But no experience required, and you don't have to be a policy expert to participate in the lobby day. And we testify in committee hearings. We sometimes have members testify. I would say mostly ask folks to do written testimony, just because the issues we work on tend to be the most controversial issues around climate, which translates to a whole lot of folks testifying in support or in opposition, and those hearings can go on for many hours. And that's tough for folks to participate in sometimes. But written testimony, it goes to the committee and they take a look at that testimony ahead of time. And so that also has an impact on the hearing, which doesn't require you sitting on your computer for hours or going down to the Capitol and being there for hours. So in addition, I guess lastly, I'll mention that we will hold events like we did this very silly, fun event in February around Valentine's Day, where we hired an a cappella group to come down to the Capitol and serenade legislators on data centers. And it's about as ridiculous as it sounds, but it was really well received. Legislators were like, it kind of lightened the mood down there. We had some, my kids came down. We had another mama come down and she brought her daughter, and we gave them Valentine's and sang a song to them, and everybody, I think we left a lasting impression, and it was a lot of fun. And then on Friday, we have a rally calling for more accountability for and safeguards for data centers. So we'll have invite press there. It's a big coalition press conference, but we'll do things like that during the session to kind of get our information and our point of view into the media and make a big splash so that legislators are hearing from folks kind of outside the building as well as inside. I'll pause there. Are there any questions so far? Okay. So why is grassroots lobbying important? Oh, I don't have many slides here. Okay. I've scaled it back, I guess. Why is grassroots lobbying important? Does anybody have any ideas of why it's important for us to go down and talk to our legislators as regular folks?
They work for us. We're
Yeah.
their constituents.
Yeah.
And so it's important for them to hear from us.
Definitely.
Probably also because regular folks, we don't have a big financial lobbying power, right? We're just regular folks.
That's right. Yeah. Did you have something to add? I think I saw you come off mute. Okay. Well, yes, absolutely. Like all those.
Phone call. But yeah, if you take the time to spend the whole day down at the Capitol, they're like, this is a committed person. Ugh, there goes my.
Yes, you broke up there a little bit, Meg, but I think I got your point. Oh, I think we lost Meg. Yeah, like when we go down to the Capitol as just regular folk, I mean, I know I'm tied to an organization, but when you all go down to the Capitol and our members go down, they don't see a whole lot of constituents. And when constituents take the time to make a phone call or send an email or go down to the Capitol or testify, and they're not a paid lobbyist, like that does go a long way with a state legislator. And we have far more power to impact legislation at the state level than we do at the federal level. Not to say federal lobbying isn't important; it certainly is. But I think when we engage at the local level, whether it's state or city or school board, we do have more power and influence there. Oh, poor Meg. Internet issues. So yes, it's important. And it's also important for us to come together because we don't have a lot of money. And our contribution is people power as opposed to spending money on big, flashy lobbyists. And frankly, I think they get tired of hearing from the same people every day that have been down there for decades lobbying people. So it's an important component of our civic duty. All right, well, let's dive into the basics of a lobby visit. And I'll just preface this by saying that this is really targeted towards having a longer sort of 15-minute traditional in-person visit with a legislator or a lawmaker. And when we go down to do our lobby day, it's going to be condensed into like 5 minutes. So a lot of the work ahead of time still applies, but the meeting itself might be a little bit shorter. But all of the same principles are the same. So obviously, lots of prep ahead of time will make you feel more confident in your meeting, and just, kind of basically making sure that you're prepared. Research your lawmaker. I'm gonna, let's see if I think I have to get out of this for a second. I want to show you all how to find your legislator if you haven't done that before, if you don't know who your legislator is. So the ledge.colorado.gov is the state legislative website. There is a lot of really good information on this website for you all to find. If you want to see who your legislator is, there's this little icon up here, Find My Legislator, and you type in your address. I'm going to type in my zip code because my zip code is not split. But yours might be. So put in your full address, and it will pull up who your state senator is and who your state rep is. It will give you their contact information, their party, and their webpage within the state ledge site. So if you let's go to Senator Doherty's webpage, and it tells you more information about where her district lies. She is mostly Jefferson, but she has a little bit of Adams. She is a Democrat. These are her committee assignments. This is really important when you're researching your legislator, because it tells you kind of what issues they're experienced in. And, kind of sometimes this is an interest area that made them decide to run in the first place. Sometimes it's tied to the work they do outside of the Capitol. Sometimes it's for other reasons. Lindsay is a lawyer, and so it makes sense that she sits on the judiciary. There's a lot of lawyers that run for office, but in particular, I know that she has been practicing law, and so she sits on the judiciary and she sits on Health and Human Services. That's not to say that that she's not interested in other issues or not well versed on other issues. But when I meet with her, she's pretty candid that like climate is just not an issue she knows a whole lot about. So that gives us opportunity to inform her about our position but it's good information kind of knowing, are they going to ask me more complicated questions? Are they going to be better versed in this issue? Or should I make sure that like I'm coming at this from she's maybe not paying much attention to these issues? You'll also see, of course, her email address, her phone number. The Capitol address is not, her room number is not her office number. They changed this. It used to be that you could find their office numbers on the website or even like when you get to the Capitol, but they have tightened security quite a bit around this stuff. And so they're not putting that information out. Oh, that's great. Meg said that she's on a first name basis with her legislator now since meeting them on our lobby day a couple years ago. A question, do they request their committee assignments or are they assigned by leadership? I think they do put in their preference in the beginning, like before session starts. And sometimes they get it and sometimes they don't get it. And then there's the political decisions about who's going to chair the committee. And that's decided inter-party wise. And so sometimes there are disagreements about who should lead and sometimes it's easy, but it's a bit of a combination, I would say. But they can say what their preferences are. Scrolling down here a little bit, you can also see what bills they have sponsored are sponsoring for this session. That's what's going to come up first. But then you can also look here on the left side. You can click to see like what did they run last year or during an interim session, which extraordinary session, I guess that's what they call it here. But that's the time in between like the regular legislative session. So they had to do a special session over the summer to deal with the federal tax bill that passed that blew a huge hole in our budget that they had to deal with immediately. So you can see kind of what she did during the session, but this could, you don't have to spend a lot of time looking at their bills, but sometimes if you scroll down, you can get a sense of like what issues has she been involved in, what issues might she specialize in, and what's something that she cares about. Another benefit of looking through this could be that maybe there's a bill that you were like, oh, I didn't even know that that was a thing, or this issue is really important to me, even though I'm not talking about it today, because it gives you an opportunity to say thank you for sponsoring this bill. I'm really passionate about, I know Lindsay's been working on AI, or not AI, but social media and protecting kids around social media. Like that's an important issue that's important to me. And so I mentioned it to her aide when I talked to her last week during the Climate Lobby Day. So just kind of using that as an opportunity to thank them for something, start the meeting off on a good note. That's not always possible, but it's good if you can do it. And then I guess while we're in here, just quickly, if you're also interested in learning more about the committees, there's lots to learn here, and I highly recommend going onto this website and just poking around a bit. But we work primarily with two committees, one in the House and one in the Senate, because that's where all the environmental bills go. So in the House, that is the Energy and Environment Committee. And in the Senate, it's Transportation and Energy. So we work hard to build relationships with the members that sit on those committees because we know that our bills are going to go to them first. We'll quickly take a look at who sits on the Energy and Environment Committee. We have Representative Valdez, who's actually sponsoring a bill we don't like this year, and that has made things a little complicated. But you can see all of the representatives who sit on this committee, and when your bill is going to committee, these are the first folks who are going to be working on that bill. So they'll be good people, even if they're not your representative. If your bill is going to their committee, they are good people for you to reach out to talk to them about the bill that they're going to vote on. So it's usually you're only reaching out to the member that represents you directly, but when they sit on a committee, there's a little leniency there about who they listen to. It's still far more important for them to hear from constituents. Any questions on the website here, or doing that pre-research? Okay.
I have one actually, Sarah.
Yeah.
For the lobby day, do you meet with a whole bunch of different people or just one, and so should we research all the people, or who do you research?
Very good question. So for the lobby day, I just suggest researching your own legislator. How we work is we put people into groups, so nobody's lobbying by themselves, and we will either connect you with folks who are also in your same House or Senate district, or we'll put the Jeffco people together and the Denver people together, or Adams, so that there's some commonality, if that works out that way based on who's coming. So really you only need to know about your legislator, but you'll probably be talking to more people, but there will be people from their districts in your group that should have done that research. And even if you don't do all of this research for this quick conversation, it's okay. But it's just good practice for like as you're building a relationship with your legislator. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Sarah, I had a question too. Is there a quick way to see the record of how a particular legislator has voted on things that have already been voted on? Or do you have to go by the
Yes.
bill?
Yeah. If you're looking for a specific bill, you can look it up on the website. And just using the search function. So if it's like a House bill, you put House bill, you put the year that it passed or was voted on. So maybe it was last year and it was, I don't know, 2350. I don't know if that's a real bill. But it will pull it up. It's not, but let's say I put in 1097. So placement transition plans for children, you can take a look and they changed the website. So I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but yes, you can see like all of the information, the bill text, the different versions as it was amended. You can see fiscal note means if it costs money. So you can see what the fiscal note was on it. You can see the committees, how it voted. Excuse me, if it passed or failed. The vote summary will tell you who voted for it. And then there's, this bill went through a few committees. You can look at the larger vote record here. You can see what the amendments were. There's just tons of information here if you want to look for it. If you're looking for more of a voting record on environmental issues, like has this person voted on environmental issues as a whole? We don't do a voting record at Mountain Mamas, but groups like Conservation Colorado and I think Sierra Club do, and those are usually up on their websites. And that's a good suggestion to look at. All right. We already kind of talked about, your story, thinking about your story and what you want to share, and what you're comfortable sharing. You don't have to get super personal, just to be clear. It can just be like, I have two kids and I'm really worried about how, I'm worried about them going and playing soccer in the summer when ozone pollution is terrible. And I live in Jeffco where it's even worse than some other parts of the state, stuff like that. And then make sure that you have your talking points. You know who's coming. Some of that, again, will be on our lobby day. We'll be meeting people that day, but it all works out and we'll give you time to kind of plan your strategy, who's going to say what, confirm how much time you have. If you were meeting with a legislator, do we have 15 minutes? Do we have a half hour? So that you can plan your agenda. Always make sure to keep it concise. They are getting a lot of information all day long, so we want to make sure we aren't overloading them with unnecessary information. And then always have a handout or a fact sheet to leave behind, which we will provide that for our lobby day. During your meeting, of course, give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves, your organization, if you're tied to one. Using the beginning as an opportunity to thank them for their past vote on something, if applicable. Not everybody is going to be friendly, so you may not have that, but maybe you can find something else like, oh, we both are from, this town or whatever. Like if there's some sort of commonality you can find. And of course, thanking them for meeting with you. Always be polite. This has really very rarely ever been a problem. Certainly not on a lobby day. I've seen people get ignored, but I've never heard anybody be rude. So, and I mean, if they by ignored, I mean, they come out, you've called them out to the lobby and they decided they're not going to talk to you. They're going to talk to somebody else. I have seen that happen, but, you don't know what's going on with them. So we'll always assume the best intentions but be polite. They're human beings and you're trying to build a relationship with them. kind of go through your talking points, share your stories, make sure you leave your fact sheet. And then always make your asks. This is something that I think we get a little nervous about. And we forget to ask, like, can we count on your vote for this bill? Or can we count on you to oppose this bill? You may not get an answer. Often they're going to deflect and say, well, I'm still looking at it, or I'll revisit it when it comes to the floor, or, something like that. And that's okay. And we don't need to keep pushing, but just see if they'll commit. And because we want to make sure we report that to the folks who are kind of tracking the votes. That's more for lobby day, but in general, we always want to try and get an answer. If they ask you a question that you don't know the answer to, it's totally fine to say, I don't know. Just write that question down and make sure you try to get the answer for them. It's also a really great opportunity to follow up with them and have an excuse to follow up with them to say, hey, I got the answer to that question. Here's what it is. Let me know if you have more questions. And also can be an opportunity to remind them that we met, and here's what, my position is on this, and here's why I feel this way. To just kind of continue the conversation. Always great to ask for a photo after the meeting. Sometimes there's not time to do that, but then you can also use social media, post that photo and tag them. And it can be another reminder that you had this conversation with them and that you'd love to keep talking, and we'd love your support on this, or we'd love for you to oppose this. After your meeting, probably already covered a lot of this up, but definitely follow up with a thank you email, reminder of the issues, attach the fact sheet again, any additional information they requested, and then try and make that ask. Either, like, if they didn't give you an answer, make the ask again. Will you support, this bill? Or remind them, thank you for your support, or we thank you for your opposition to the bill. And just keep, continuing the conversation. I think, it's these, like, state legislators are really just regular folks. Like, they're part-time. They work, January through May in the session, through the first week of May in the session. And then they're off and they do other work. They have other jobs. So it's different than Congress, where it's like a year-long, or a year-round position. And so that just makes them a little bit more connected to home, connected to their district, and they want to know their constituents. So continuing the conversation where you can and how you can will help you with that. All right, I'll pause there before we talk a little bit more about Lobby Day. Let's see if there's any other questions. Does this feel like similar to like for Christy and Meg, who I know have done lobbying a bit? Does that kind of resonate with how you approached your meetings?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, very much so. You were super, super helpful guiding me through. I was terrified that first day, and you were amazing.
Thank you, Meg. Well, I appreciate that. We do get a lot of good feedback on Lobby Day. And the good news is that since we've done this for a number of years, we have a lot of people who have come to multiple Lobby Days. So a lot of our members are now able to lead other groups, and they've been doing it, because they've been doing it a while. So you get more comfortable every time you go, and it just gets more fun, I think, the more you do it. So. Okay, so as I mentioned, April 15th, 7:45. Well, I say 7:45 here only because you do have to go through security. So we ask folks just to get there a little bit early because we want to start right at 8. And we meet in the cafeteria in the basement of the Capitol, which is where security is. There's a security location in the basement. There's another one on the first floor, so you just go downstairs from there. But we end around 11:30. If you can't commit to that whole time, don't let that stop you from coming, because like we'll take you for as long as you can make it. We'll do a light training, or excuse me, we'll have a light breakfast. We'll do a training on the bills. We aren't we won't be sure exactly what bills we're working on until about maybe like a week ahead. So we'll send out the fact sheets so folks can have an opportunity to look at those if they want. But not all the bills that we're working on now will necessarily still be running. And so we just want to make sure we're like not giving people commitments on what we'll work on until we know. So you don't have to memorize anything. We'll do the training that day. The lobby visits will be condensed to 3 to 5 minutes. The way it works is we'll give you these little cards. You'll say, legislator or representative, Foray. I'm Sarah. I'm here with Mountain Mamas. We just want to talk to you about some bills, something like that. You give it to the sergeant at arms who waits outside the chambers, and they put it into that legislator, and then hopefully they come out and talk to you. And that's the majority of what we do during the day. So it can be sometimes it's a lot of waiting around for somebody to come out. Sometimes we have to kind of switch gears and be flexible if they're not taking cards or if a legislator just isn't coming out. But it's always exciting. And in the meantime, you get to chat with people that are coming or that are there with you. You get to kind of watch the proceedings from the lobby and learn kind of how it looks on a day-to-day basis down there. We'll cover, I say 2 to 3 bills here. Sometimes it's a few, maybe one more, but usually anything more than 3 is tough to get through in that 3 to 5 minutes and have like a meaningful conversation with them, but it is pretty fast. And let me get out of this and I will drop the link to register for Lobby Day, if I can find it quickly in the chat. But I'll pause for any questions or comments. See if I can find this quickly.
Can you just reiterate? So, I mean, it makes me feel really happy that you have a training on this the morning of. I think that has been my biggest inhibition thus far, is that I feel like I don't know about the bills, and I would sound stupid if I did come. So to know, basically you're gonna say, hey, like this is the bill and this is why it's important, and then that like you give us the talking points that we need. Is that right?
Yes. We will, there's fact sheets. We also kind of distill down, we'll give everybody a 1-pager of the 2 or 3 bills we're going to talk about that have some high level talking points on them. So you have it on 1 page too, and you're not just like fumbling through your documents and being like, well, I don't know, what's that bill number? Because it can be a little hectic. But also just know that you will have a lead on your team, and they will have it's probably going to be somebody from our ledge team that's been working on these bills for a couple of months now. And so they can help you with your pitch. They can lead the pitch, and you can just weigh in, with your position. So you do not have to be an expert on any of these bills. And like I said, you don't even have to speak. You could just kind of hang out for a little while until you feel comfortable. We just want to make sure people, feel comfortable. I think it'll be great, and you'll figure it out.
Kristen, I attended my first lobbying event last week, and I felt very similar. I was, nervous and intimidated, and it was so wonderful and very accessible. And I think you'll do it once and be like, that was great.
Yeah, people they are so nice, and I will say the Jeffco people are very nice. I mean, I know them the best because I live in Jeffco, but I they're everybody is always super nice, and they're excited that you're there. Okay, I'm gonna just let's go back to I just wanted to let you know we have like a lot of events coming up for some reason. Can everybody see this okay? I can't see you for some reason.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. All right. Um, I had a panic moment there. All right, so I think I mentioned this quickly earlier, but we have a rally for data center safeguards on Friday. Oh, I'm sorry, a couple minutes over. I'll try and blow through this quickly. It's at noon at the state capitol, outside on the west steps of the Capitol. We're going to do a press conference. We're calling it a rally, but it's for press, and we're really trying to urge the state legislature to put safeguards around data centers. If that's a new issue for you, I'll send some information out to you about that. But it's important that we're trying to get as many folks down there as possible because this bill is a little challenging this year. Also on Sunday, this Sunday, we're having a Mama's Night Out at Hops and Pie in Berkeley, the Berkeley location in Denver. And we're writing postcards to our members who live in districts where their legislator is not committing to our issues. So we're just trying to get some more engagement from their constituents. It should be really fun. First beer is on us, and we'll have pizza. If you're interested and available, just send me a note that you'd like to come. And we'll see you there. Our lobby day, I've already mentioned, and then our next meeting is April 8th at 12 p.m.